Welcome to the Flute Center of New York, everyone. Tonight, I am delighted to introduce a special evening with Sir James and Lady Galway, hosted by the very talented Alex Zeros.
Yay!
Sir James and Lady Galway will delight us with answers to all of our questions. I'm especially proud that this is their first public appearance since the long, dark days of COVID. And they were long and dark. They have both been champions of the flute for decades. For many of us, I am sure their life is somewhat of a mystery. So tonight we hope to peel the onion back a little bit and take a peek inside their world and their lives. This summer, the Galway Festival will take place for the 34th year. Bravo. The Flute Center is delighted to actually sponsor some deserving students, as we try to do every year. So we're really looking forward to it. And I actually got to go once in person, and it was one of the greatest weeks of my life. And we also have passed around a QR code for everyone in the room that will give you information, I think, about the festival and lots of Flute Center discounts on everything Galway. So we hope that you'll buy some flutes before you leave. So it is my honor and my privilege to introduce two really old friends to the Flute Center and to everyone out there watching, Sir James and Lady Galway.
Thank you, Phil.
Good evening.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Hello. Well, welcome, and welcome back to New York. Thank you for being here with us. How are the two of you? It's been 3 years since we've had you here.
It's been 3 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just 3 years. I think we're good. What do you think there, James?
Well, it's been very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't have to do something, you don't do anything,
Yeah.
like practice. Whereas when I had a concert, I would practice it till it went
Yeah.
through the wall.
Yeah. Are you getting back to normal practicing now?
No, because there's another element getting in the way here, my age.
Yeah. Of course.
But I think, you know, for 83, I'm not too bad.
But you do practice.
Oh yeah.
I do, yes.
And he starts all the time with the scales, all
Mhm.
the time.
Since you're back in New York, I know you're originally a New Yorker. Are there things here in New York that, when you come to visit, you must do?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. First thing is to go for a walk down the street
Yeah.
and take it all in. It's just fantastic, right? You know, we live in this beautiful country called Switzerland, and it was a very nice place to be locked down in. But as he mentioned, everything for us changed. And we were touring 9-10 months a year and never home. We immediately went online to help the students, you know, and there were cables all over and wires, and we didn't know what we were doing. Now we've got it down to a T.
Yeah.
We have a designated area with wires that we don't trip on all the time. But I kept saying to my husband, we've got to get out of here. We've got to just get some stimulus. And we came back here and we just started walking and seeing things. And we want to get to the New York Philharmonic. We want to go here to Rosenkavalier at the Met, of course. We were with the family for 2 weeks, so that kind of wore us out. So we're just coming out the other end. And but you have some projects coming up next week. You've got a little recording, and you're playing at a private event.
Yep.
And they want even more while we're here, but we kind of put the brakes on it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And of course, this was our first bit of communication. We said, we're coming in 2 weeks. We want to come and say hello to everyone.
We
So.
appreciate it. Let's talk more about the pandemic. We're all just coming out of it. I mean, you mentioned things kind of slowed down for you, but what did you do during that time to stay active? I know the Galway Academy was a huge part of that, but what was that time period for you all like?
Difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, really difficult. I think it was the most difficult thing in my life.
But yet, you immediately started becoming very active in doing these free online sessions.
Yes.
and talking to the students.
Mhm.
And virtual performances, we all remember those, right? We had to do these virtual performances where somebody called you up and asked you to do a virtual performance, we didn't know what we were
Yeah.
doing, right? And the pianist was in Dublin and we were here, and it was a bit,
It was interesting, actually.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think immediately we switched gears, and you switched gears.
Mhm.
You know, you would talk, you probably don't remember because it seemed, we kind of put it out of our minds,
Yeah.
but you immediately started doing those at home series.
Yes, but I remember particularly the church in Dublin. What was it called?
Oh, the pepper,
The Peppermill Church.
yeah, but that's before the pandemic.
Yeah, but I still remember.
Oh, that's good.
The reason I remember it is because we recorded practically everything for the flute.
Mhm.
No stopping, just play. And it's interesting to hear these things played back.
Yeah.
And we also had a good time though, because we had just moved house.
Oh, sure, I drank a lot of Guinness.
No, I'm not talking about there, I'm talking about during the pandemic.
Oh, sorry.
We'll talk about life in Ireland in a moment. But we had just moved house, and during the pandemic, can you believe this one? Of course, none of us knew what it was like in the beginning.
Mhm.
And Switzerland was a little slower to go on lockdown, but then they eventually did. And it was very nice because where we moved to, it's just right near our other place, and it's facing the lake, so not so bad. Then we got the cows next to us, so we used to go walking. This is what we do
She
now.
actually talks to
I
the
talk to the
cows.
cow.
And I'm not sure if she knows what she's doing or not.
Did you ever try to get a cow's attention? It's really difficult. So this was our life, right? We were on this 80th birthday tour, and we get all these wonderful invites to do all these galas, and you name it, the invite comes in. And then we're home, and we're walking, talking to the cows, and I thought this is really nice, you know, how you can really just, you know, as musicians, we are very, very flexible,
Mhm.
even though sometimes we don't think we are in our work.
Yeah.
And so we would just immediately, you know, start doing things. And we were practicing a lot then because also we didn't think it would go on for 3 years.
Of course, yeah, right.
So I think you adjusted really well. And I was very surprised for someone that had such a long, busy career that you went right into gear with teaching students.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we were making banana bread. Tell them about your banana
Oh,
bread.
I decided I was going to start cooking again. I used to cook, but when we first met, Jeannie didn't cook anything. She made one thing,
Tuna fish salad.
tuna fish salad. And I was very diplomatic about that. But gradually, I shifted the cooking business
Mhm.
over. And now she's a very good cook.
But he's my chopper.
Yeah.
This guy is a great chopper.
I prefer,
And I'm always saying,
Chopping the
please
veg.
watch those fingers.
Yeah.
But so you took to making, you were studying different recipes and cooking banana bread. Then we stopped with the banana bread after a while because, you know, if you keep making banana bread, we're never going to get back into those concert clothes.
Mhm. Oh, that's great. You guys enjoy cooking together, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah, he's good on dishes too.
And I know the two of you met here in New York, and it started out as lunches and some duet playing. Do you two have favorite duets you like to play together still?
Yeah, we do.
yes,
Our Mozart.
the Mozart duets.
The Mozart, actually, I was going to bring them to play them. The Mozart duets, we play them all the time. That was what we used to play when we were dating. And Telemann, we did a lot of Telemann.
Yeah, canonic sonatas.
Canonic sonatas, all those. And also, of course, just our favorite Schultz and all those others all the time.
Schultz, he's the guy from TV.
So, yeah, we like to do those. And, but sometimes, like, he'll be practicing in one room and I'll practice in the other. We do try to keep it up, even though we don't have a large concert schedule on top of us,
Mhm.
out of choice, because we're still being very careful with the COVID because we've had a very bad experience.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go back there.
Right.
Which is why you're all wearing masks. Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank you.
much. And we have a wonderful audience tonight.
Yeah.
Wearing masks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. And so during the pandemic, you guys adapted the Galway Academy to a virtual
Yes.
format, which you're doing now still.
Yes.
And then it's coming up this summer.
Yeah,
again.
the summer festival, which some of our students are here. They
Yeah.
were in the live festival and also came online with us. And we, you know, for us when this happened, our mind went to our students, as it always does. And because, you know, we've had these fabulous experiences in life, and I've had wonderful experiences with him. And there's the students that are working so hard, and all of a sudden their world stops. And that's why we went virtual.
Yeah.
And it was difficult because those wires. Remember the wires and the computers and we just moved, and we used to have this really big place with these wonderful flute studios and everything. It would have been fine to put it in there, but there it was in this smaller place. But it was also fascinating for me because we'd put a camera on him and he would just talk. And you can see these series, they're called Galway at Home. And we put them on YouTube, and it was everything for free. And then we had to move online, and at the time Zoom, of course, didn't take the flute.
Yeah.
And the students were just great. And what was the famous word we had there, Chris? It wasn't reboot or something. It was one of those when because nobody could get the sound right and everything. But now we got it down to a T.
Yeah.
And we have a nice designated place. We go in, we just get in front of the camera. And we still offer a lot of free things.
Yeah.
And,
You have the Live Learn series.
yeah, the Live Learn series is Sunday night sessions we offered. And I asked Sir James to choose 5 themes, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And you came up with different ones. And you came up with, I think beginning your journey on the flute was one of them.
Yes.
And practical practicing also. Staying engaged in all these. So, yeah, so basically we do a lot still online, and we have a new program called Galway Connect. And what we're doing is finally taking the time to go into the archives of what Sir James talked about when he recorded this series we call First Flute. There's little clips in the beginning of him playing repertoire. We just gave him music and he played it. Nice to be prepared to know your repertoire. In the Peppermill Church before he had the Guinness. And you played with Michael McHale there. And so we have all of that footage. And then we also at one point a couple of years ago went into another place in Northern Ireland and recorded just days and days of you playing repertoire and teaching. And so that'll be on the Galway Connect series. And what he does there is he'll say to the student or to the adult learner or to the beginner, he'll say, this is a very good piece you can put in your repertoire, right? You went into like the Gothic and then you would talk of the Bach sonatas and everything, and you talked about your flutes, and yeah, so we keep creating, and we're trying, for me, it's about the legacy of Sir James.
Yeah, and that's wonderful that you're sharing all your knowledge with the next generation so that all these flutists can continue to play beautifully.
Try, and the only reason why we have to charge for certain things is because we do have a team that
Yeah.
you know, nobody comes and says, hey, Galways, we'd love to pay for this supportive team. They say, hey, Galways, can you pay for our team? So, you know, anything that we do, it goes to help the students and keep the running costs.
That's wonderful. And for the Galway Academy this summer, if you're interested in being an active participant, you have until May 1st to sign up and apply.
Yeah, and you could talk about that, the guest artists, your friends.
Yeah, it's quite an impressive roster this year.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And most of them are his students. Dennis Boryakov and his wife Erin.
I met Dennis first when he was 15,
Wow.
and he played for me the Carmen
Mm-hmm.
variations, and I'll never forget it. Philip Moll was playing the piano and he was laughing. I said, what are you laughing about? He said, look at this. He showed me the page, there was a big strip missing down the middle. But of course we played it millions of times,
Mhm.
so strip or no strip, that
Yeah.
was it.
Oh, wonderful.
But then Dennis played Schubert Ave Maria,
Mm.
and it was so moving. And it was then I thought, boy, this kid is really something else.
Yeah.
And he is.
He is, yeah. I've had the chance to hear him once, and blew me away.
It's
Yeah.
very nice too, very nice.
Yeah.
And Stefan Holskutsen, who plays principal in Chicago,
Mhm.
he's coming back. He was also a student of Sir James's. And Thaddeus Watson, who also was a student of yours in Berlin. Damari McGill, who you met when he was 13. There's a whole,
I met Damari in
Yeah.
the street in Chicago. I was wandering along mindless as usual, and this little kid came in front of me and said, "Are you James Galway?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I play the flute." I said, "Really? Come on, I'll buy you a coffee."
Oh, wow.
So we had a coffee together. Then I met his parents, and then he played in the Pied Piper fantasy from John
Hmm.
Corigliano.
Wow.
his picture's probably up there in one of the pictures that we have from that.
Yeah.
And we have also Jelko Weber, who people probably don't know about, but she was a female flutist in the Berlin Philharmonic. We had done her, interviewed her on my latest
Mhm.
series. You can listen to her. She was 22 or 24 when she got that job as one of the first women in the Berlin Philharmonic, and has held it ever since.
Yeah.
And she teaches at the Academy there in Berlin, as Kirsten McCall teaches in Amsterdam. And the reason also why we choose these different artists every year is so that we can feed our students into their classes. For instance, we have some students that I'm looking at right here, hello, that, you know, will be graduating maybe from a New York school, and this way, if they have the chance to play in the master class with someone like Kirsten McCall, can go study in Amsterdam, and as one of our other students did, she's been on tour with the Concertgebouw playing second flute to Emily Bine and to Kirsten McCall. You know, they get this experience of traveling and learning different languages and cultures, and
Yeah.
so we try to do it that way in every year. So it's not that we don't choose American flute players. Also, most of our friends are very busy during that time,
Yeah.
so it's very hard to, even like the New York Philharmonic is busy that week, so Robert can't do it in this one, but anyway, and we do have some financial aid for you. And as I was just telling one of our young friends here earlier, you know, as a learner, no matter what age you are, if you should just always ask, because don't ever think I can't do something because I can't afford it, because there's always something out there, someone out there who can help you, and I know that we will always try to help you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we can give you everything free, but we will always, right, James?
Yeah.
I'm always telling you, I'll always say, oh, we just give them a scholarship. We'll call this one a Sir James Scholarship. This one will be a Lady Jeannie Scholarship. So we thank you for supporting these young flute players.
Welcome.
And our more advanced friends too.
That's great. Well, I want to talk to you a bit about staying motivated over the last, 70 years of your career.
Mhm.
What kept you going and kind of kept you at the top of your game all that time?
I don't know, when I was a kid in Belfast, I used to play the flute in a flute band. The flute band was rather like a flute ensemble that we know now, except it was slightly different because they had 3 piccolos, and then we had B-flat flutes, which were about this size, and we had first B-flat flute, second B-flat flute, third, and then we had flutes in F and flutes in E-flat, and then concert G flute. And the sound of this is fantastic, because now everything's the same. You buy it.
Everything's C. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they still have these bands in Ireland?
I don't believe so, but I'm not sure. However, I used to play in these things, and the people would bring their flute book, and I would just practice things. I mean, I remember practicing the Sinfonia Domestica when I was a kid, like about 14, and I'm playing this thing. What the hell is this? Who plays this sort of music? 14-year-old Irish
Yeah.
kids. And then, of course, we had musical evenings at each other's house, and we played all things like Sean Rosemary,
Godard.
Godard, and Chopin nocturnes, things like this. And we would learn all these pieces. And in the band, we played Rossini overtures. One which was particularly good and well suited was The Thieving Magpie, because it's only drums and flutes.
That's great.
Didn't you say that when you first heard your first orchestra, you thought it was very strange because you were used to hearing everything with flute bands?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, no good.
But, you know, when I was talking to Alex, I was talking to him about this tremendous inner discipline that you have. And then I remember over the years being on tour with you, and you play a concerto the first half, a big concerto, or maybe you do 2 concertos, maybe you do Cacciatorian and Mozart or something, and then the orchestra would play something, and I'd go, at the end of the concert, I'd go into his dressing room, and he'd be practicing. He'd just be practicing, you know, it's this, like you always say, James, there are no shortcuts, right?
Yeah, that's the difference between me and everybody else. I practice.
All the time, and you still do. You still do.
Yeah,
I mean,
I do.
when you pick up the flute, like I said, it's the scales. It's this. It's always beautiful melodies, and it's a little bit of more Lacchio, Mercadante, or Mozart, or something like that. And of course, when we go back to the pandemic, it was the students that kept us motivated.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. That's great. What's it like working together in a marriage to run this business? You have helped Sir James through the years, you know, through all the heights of his career. How do you balance, you know, work-life balance and marriage balance between the two of you?
Don't know, it just sort of happens.
I think we're very fortunate.
Yeah.
First of all, when I first met my husband, well, he wasn't my husband, and I wasn't into finding a husband or marrying Sir James. That was definitely not on my list. My list was I was a New York flute player, and that was it. And but then we became best friends. But I've had such admiration for him, and well, for all the people that have gone before us as great musicians. And when we got closer and eventually we got married, I just thought, well, you know, this is a real gift. It's a real gift to be in this person's life and to be able to hear him play every day. And so we just worked it out. And in the beginning, we weren't playing together. I had gone from being very busy in New York to doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you know, trying to find my feet. And he said to me, "You're going to have to find your way." And he said, "Don't expect ever to go on the stage with me. You know, you're not going to be one of these why they don't hire me because of you or because of white thing." So we just kind of found that, and then little by little, like in any relationship, when you say, yes, but the managers are running our life, he says, if you want to know about this, get yourself a computer and start talking to the managers. So then we began to say, no, you can't work on New Year's, no, he can't work on Christmas, and little by little, it's what we tell everyone to learn about today, is a little bit about the business and how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but I think that I think respect is the word. You know, if you have respect for each other in any relationship, whether it's friendship or marriage, we're actually together. What now? 40 years. I mean, that's a long time. I know we don't look that old, kids. But it's a long time, and like you always said, it's a 24-hour relationship.
Yes, it is.
And he lets me bring all those suitcases on tour and all those things. And then little by little we worked out the practice, and then I would be on the second part of the concert so we could balance it. But I think the word is respect and admiration from my side. And still today, at this age, when I hear him pick up the flute, I say, God, you gotta play more. You gotta play more. It's just still so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Tell us more about your philosophy on flute playing and teaching. What sort of things are you trying to pass on to these young students who are coming to you?
Doesn't work. I try to tell them to practice. You know what they do? They play the flute maybe for an hour a day, whereas I'm still at it after 8 hours. But of course I have lunch, tea, stuff.
Yeah.
No, but you have a very good way of teaching.
But I really would urge you, if you want to succeed in this business, get a good flute book and practice it.
Mhm.
I think you always say that if this is what you want to do, let it be the first thing you do every day.
Yeah.
The first and the last thing. And I think your approach to flute playing has also been very practical, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no gadgets, there's no
No.
very strange things of
No, I don't
standing
have any
upside
of
down
this.
to learn how to breathe or something like that.
What's the other one? Body mapping or something?
Yeah, well, that
Is it-
people,
well,
yeah, but
that's-
people get into that, so we'll leave them to it. But you believe in really holding the flute a certain way, right? The way your teachers taught you years
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
I mean, when you were young, the teachers, I think there weren't so many avenues to think about. You know, you didn't say, well, if you didn't like this teacher, you went to this one. You found that teacher, and you hung on their every word, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I remember very well all my teachers. And I never learned with two teachers at the same time. Always with one teacher.
Mhm.
And your first teacher, one of your first teachers was a singer.
Yeah, that's right. This is my friend Muriel Dawn. And Muriel was a professional singer. And she studied at the Royal Academy of Music in London. And she
played for sung for Vaughan Williams also.
Oh, wow.
And she
Oh,
learned
yeah.
the flute with Jeffrey Gilbert.
yes.
So she taught you the breathing technique.
Yeah, she did. And it was very interesting because she would sit like this, and I would be here playing the flute. And if I did something wrong, and she had a mighty bosom, which of course was lost on a 12-year-old kid. But she was a wonderful person. And she, at the end of her life, I went to see her one day, and she had very bad dementia. And we were sitting there, and after about 5 minutes, she turned to me and she said, "Wasn't that nice that young Jimmy came to see me?" I said, "Muriel, it's me." "Yeah, I am."
But she helped
Yeah.
pave the way. She had studied with Jeffrey Gilbert, and
Yes.
Jeffrey Gilbert being this wonderful British flute player, he helped change your life, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Along with William Bennett and all
Yeah.
these people, and so,
But one teacher in particular was very good, was John Francis. And John was an absolute maniac about Bach. I mean, he knew everything about
Yeah.
Bach. And he copied out by hand all the important solos from the cantatas. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you know how many of them are.
There's
It
a
is
lot.
wow. And he, of course, copied out all of it. This is before you could have a book of orchestra
Mhm.
excerpts. And he wrote things like Dvorak 8, all these sort of things. And then I left John after 2 years. I lived in his house,
Mhm.
and I moved out and became a student of Jeffrey Gilbert for 1 year.
Mhm.
And then after that, I went to the Paris Conservatoire, where I got into the French class. When I was at the Conservatoire, there were 2 classes. One was French, and the other one was foreigner. And they had one place free, competitive, and I got it. So I was in the French class, and I thought, great. Wasn't so great at all, I tell you. We had 2 lessons a week. One was just scales and arpeggios and technique,
Mhm.
and the other one was interpretation. And we learned a new piece every week.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
tell them about the scale class.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It paid off.
Yeah.
well, You know, my first encounter with scales was with my Uncle Joe, who taught me the flute. And he lived around the corner from where we lived. And he taught me how to play the scale of D. This was on my B-flat flute. And G. And then it came to A. And I couldn't play this G sharp. I just couldn't get the message from here to here. It didn't work somehow or other. And I was ready to give up. And then suddenly, my Uncle Joe came to the rescue. He said, keep trying, it will happen. And it did. And there I was off, E major. And then I learned with Muriel and with John Francis and Conservatoire and all that sort of stuff. But each teacher, I thought, wow, this is great, new teacher, no scales. Wrong. Every one of my teachers insisted. But I tell you, when I got to the Paris Conservatoire, I really showed them how to play scales.
Except that you signed up, tell them about this when you signed up for
Oh
the...
yeah, we had to sign up for a lesson, and I thought these kids are mad. One was signing up for 8 o'clock in the morning. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I was just going to bed. I mean, and then I realized what happened, because Mr. 8 o'clock, he would get up and go, da 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 da, and we studied Moy's daily exercises shown on you, and then the next guy would get up and play a bit quicker, until it got around to about lunchtime when it was me. But I rose to the line.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's great. And I know your first teacher, Muriel, she was a singer, and you now, like at the Galway Academy, you start most days with a singing warm-up because the voice and flute are so connected.
Yes, they are. They are. As a matter of fact, I can't imagine the flute being played if it was not imitating a voice or influenced by a singer.
It's a very important connection.
Yes, but one of the most important teachers in my whole entire existence was Marcel Moyes. Moyes was great. He taught me from memory, and I played everything from memory. So it was just great. I just go along, get out my flute. I said, what should we play? He said, oh, let's do the first movement of the Bach partita. Okay. Then we would do other pieces as well.
That's great. And how do you feel about memorization?
Well, if you want to stand up there and play the same as Jascha Heifetz and all these guys, who all play without no music, I mean, they play really difficult music. You know, have you ever heard the Busoni Piano Concerto? No. Well, it's written on 4 staves. The reason I know this is because a British piano player called John Ogden was recording it with the Royal Philharmonic, in which I was solo flute. And it came to the cadenza, and he had to use the music. And he said, Jimmy, could you turn the page? And I looked at this thing and I said, Jesus, I can't even figure out where he is on this page. I mean, it was just one mass of black notes. So then I got the message, I just counted the bars and turned it.
That's great. And your career started in orchestras, started in the operas in London, yeah?
Well, I did play in Belfast in the local band.
Yeah.
We played Schubert's Third Symphony, I remember it very well. Good piece. All Schubert symphonies are good if they have the right treatment. And we also played things like the Matthew Passion. And I would turn up wearing the clothes that I've been wearing for the last year. And everybody else had bow tie, white.
But Sadler's Wells was your first professional job.
Yeah,
from England.
that's right. But I couldn't believe how irresponsible some orchestra managers are. I was at the Royal College of Music at the time, and we had a guy there and worked in the office called Percy Sean. And Percy, he called me in one day and he said, "Jimmy, I want you to go to Sadler's Wells and play second flute in the performance tonight." I said, "Oh yeah, what are they playing?" He said, "The Cunning Little Vixen" by, what's his name? Who wrote The Cunning Little Vixen? Come on. Janacek. But it was a learning experience, I tell you. And the first flute player was Janet.
Right?
No, Janet, it'll come to me way after this is finished. and she showed me all the bits to look for, and so it was okay.
That's great.
But because I did that, then Percy thought, "Oh, it's great, just send Jimmy out to fix it."
That's great. That's kind of saying yes to anything and
Yeah.
proving people that you can do it.
Yes.
Being ready.
Yeah.
You know, it's always, it makes me sad actually when we do all this work and we have our festival and the students are really, really come up a high level. And then I'll send out a message saying, "There's an audition for such and such."
This is good.
I'm not really ready, Lady Galway. And I think, yeah, really ready? You just went to 6 years of music school. You've just been studying with us. You've been doing this, you've been doing that, and you're not ready. You know, or you get, it's like, I really don't want to do that audition. And we send a lot of things out, you know, that little orchestras in Europe, Dennis Boryakov is now playing in the LA Philharmonic, but he started, in these orchestras that I'm sending information. This is really not what I want to do. The New York Philharmonic is coming up, and I'm practicing for that. And I think, the New York Philharmonic.
Just to get in the door without
No, but
playing.
it's wonderful to have these aspirations, and it is great. But when somebody like Sir James or your teacher says to you, "Go do this," there should be no question. And I think questioning it and thinking, "No, I don't want to do that." We can't waste time.
Yeah.
Because, and I know that this goes back to maybe that feeling that not having the confidence, or you think I don't have the experience, but just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it, And I think that sometimes you think too much, and you don't need to sign up for all those courses on the internet that are going to teach you how to have confidence and everything like that. It's just experience. And when I started playing with Sir James on stage, we were married for a while, and I had stopped with
She
that.
was so nervous.
That's right, I was. Well, it was a tour of the Bach Trios and Sonatas, and it was like one of those 27 concerts on one tour in America. And it was one of my first times out after playing like just the Cimarosa. And so we're doing this, and I would get so nervous, and he'd say to me, "What are you nervous for?" I don't do this every day. It's 2,000-3,000 people, And he says, "The only difference between you and I is that I have the experience." And that little sentence just changed everything for me. Of course, I don't think that's the only difference between myself and James Galway, of course. But what he was saying is, I have the experience. Just go out and do it. So that's what we try to share, is that, you just, this is how you get the experience. And then he also has this good one too. And this is for anyone. There are 2,000 people applauding for you before you've even done anything. So even if there's not 2,000, if there's 25, and the listener doesn't hear like you hear anyway. And if you make a mistake, you don't tell the audience you've made a mistake. You just keep smiling.
Yeah.
If you run out of air, you just hold your flute up there. It's little tricks I learned. He doesn't run out of air. No, but and with time, that you learn, and there's nothing like experience. And it's here in New York City, or anywhere in America, the doors are wide open for chamber music and concerts. There's nothing like over here. It just feeds you, So don't wait till tomorrow. Get out there and just always say yes.
Yeah.
And in school too, yourself, right? The people you meet now, might be that music director or that conductor
Yeah.
later that are going to remember you.
Exactly. Yeah, really don't say no just because it doesn't feel like the perfect,
Because you might be
audition.
having a bad day, and so the thing is, then you get in touch with those people that did support you years ago. If you've been with us, you get in touch with us, or your teacher, that one teacher maybe you had in high school that was really that big influence, and you say, I'm having a real hard time with this, you know. We're musicians, you know, we're not computers, and we will go through that.
Yeah.
So that's my little thing. Because I do get very sad, actually, when I hear from these students saying, no, I'm not ready. But lately we've been getting a whole bunch that are saying we're getting them. And I see some of our students here, too, that are out there doing it. And then, of course, we love working with our adults who really have a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Right, Jimmy?
Mhm.
Coming back. And yeah.
That's right. And Sir James, you have dabbled in both classical and pop genres, which kind of propelled the flute to being more famous and more accessible, I think. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Do you have maybe one, this is hard, there's a lot of pieces, but one favorite classical piece and one favorite more popular piece that you've recorded over the years?
Yeah, I like La Boheme, but I don't have a piece like any song or anything like this. I mean, I just did it.
Yeah,
Danny Boy,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
But I would say that without playing these popular little pieces,
Yeah,
you guys would not have a career, and I certainly wouldn't.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, you have to ask yourself, here's the audience. What do you want to hear?
Exactly.
They said they don't want to hear Casella's piece for flute. They want to hear any song or something like that, or Rachmaninoff vocalese. That's it. Have you heard me play that? What do you think of Last Note?
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
It really impressed me.
Yeah.
goes on for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yes, it does.
Yes, so I mean, making the performance to suit the audience is also the versatility
Yeah,
of that.
you're in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you're not selling yourself short just because you're not playing Prokofiev and
Yeah.
all these. You're not. It depends on your audience all
Yeah.
the time. Many times when we'd be working, when you talk about, you know, the business, and I would learn from the managers, they'd say to me, this is great, you know, thank you for Sir James's program, except that can you give us a composer that the audience knows? And of course I'd go back to him and he would say, if they don't like the program, get another flute player. And I'd say, well, we can't really do that. So I became the go-between between the managers. So I just waited a day and I said, listen, so this audience, and he said, well, what do you think I can do? I said, well, let's just put Debussy in there. So it became, because he had Gobert and Ionesco, and you know, the average person wants to hear the name of the composer that they know.
Yeah.
You know, they'll say, oh,
Yeah, like Hendrik Feld.
yeah, right.
One of
Dirk
my
Feld,
favorites.
he was in there too, or Taffanel, and you know all.
Well, I had a good relationship with Hendrik Feld. I played his flute concertos and everything.
He wrote you a concerto.
And he wrote, yeah, he did. And I remember very well one manager in Germany, in Bremen, around there. He didn't want to give me the job. He wanted me to not play Hendrik Feld. So I said, okay, you don't want Hendrik Feld, get another flute player, I'm out of here. And I just left. But then, the next season, I got back in there. And what did I do? I opened a concert with Hendrik Feld.
But sometimes we have to be a little diplomatic in the business.
I was diplomatic.
Yep.
I didn't tell him where he should go.
That's why I would get the phone call. This is why I get the phone calls after. But so what we have did do is you always put in. I would always ask you to, because to put your little Debussy pieces in there, because for me,
Yes.
if you've ever heard Sir James play Debussy, the colors are just.
Wow.
No, it's just, it's all there, you
Yeah.
know, so, and the audience can relate to it, and they know these tunes.
Yeah, I've seen several performances, of course, but one I remember bringing just a lot of joy to me watching was you doing dueling banjos on piccolo with someone else on guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And it sort of takes away that wall that classical music can
Yeah.
sometimes have that feels a little pretentious a little bit, and it makes the flute and classical music more accessible. So I think it's a wonderful thing to play
Yeah.
both genres.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, music is music,
Yeah.
That was with, what's his name?
not Val Doonigan.
Yeah.
Val Doonigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Val Doonigan.
Yeah.
You know, he was a professional football player.
Oh wow.
He played for Dublin, and then he got into singing, and he used to get me to go along and play the flute and fiddle. And one day we decided we're going to do dueling banjos.
At the time, for some of you who were younger, at the time this was a very famous movie that the music was, and you
Yeah.
recorded it, you made a country western album
Right.
Yeah.
down in Nashville, that
It's
was
a
fun.
great
Yeah.
performance.
He played at the Grand Ole Opry and everything.
Yeah.
Yay!
He also played, by the way, the Berlin Wall when they took down the wall
Yeah.
with Pink Floyd with Joni Mitchell. I mean, it's been quite a.
Quite a career.
Yeah, that was interesting with Pink Floyd, I tell you. You know, they had a room which is maybe less than a quarter the size of this room, only with guitars. And
Like you.
as they came off
That's
as
right.
they came off the platform, they would give the guitar into the guy in the room. He would give him another guitar tuned.
Ah.
Jimmy, do you remember one of the performances we did? It was live at the, not High Park, live at the Proms. It was the end of the summer proms in the UK. I think it was in Belfast, in Northern Ireland. And I was holding this flute, and one of the stage guys says to me, "So, are you going to tune his flute before he goes out?" I think I thought it was like a guitar, and I said, "No, he'll he'll do that himself. It's okay." You know, it was very funny. It's like you're going to tune his flute. It was you know, so, you know, it makes it fun, and what you do is you're just bringing a lot of joy to a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's, these little tunes are tough to do.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, you don't lose sight of the thing that you really want to do, and that is represent a really good composer.
Yeah.
I would love to be sitting next to Beethoven,
It's his favorite composer.
32 piano sonatas, all good.
And the string quartets that we
Oh,
did.
yes.
18 of those.
Very good.
So when you ask what we did during the pandemic, we listened to a lot of music.
She became an expert on Beethoven.
Well, a piano concerto, a piano sonata, I think everybody can sing that piano sonata in the morning now. It's his breakfast music. But it used to be opera.
Ah.
But I remember the Wagner phase you went through.
Yeah.
But, and that's a big part also that we would like to encourage everyone to listen to live music. There is nothing like it. You know, you all know what it's like to play it, you know, and listen to it. Just
You know,
listen
when you
to
get
it.
up out of bed in the morning and brush your teeth and that sort of stuff, play the flute and then have breakfast.
Put on some music,
Yeah.
Gonna do it tomorrow.
okay?
I have one last question for you both, and then I want to open it up to the audience a little bit. I want to talk about your flutes and your flute collection a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have an accurate count of all the flutes you have?
Yes.
We don't really disclose it.
That's okay.
For security purposes. Well, actually, they're in the bank. They're
Yeah.
in the bank. We don't have them on a shelf on our wall. I honestly don't know. Except that all the flutes that we have, we bought. There are 2 flutes in the collection that have been given by flute makers for him to use during his lifetime, just because it was, one was a Muramatsu, because he was talking to them and they wanted him to play one of the newer ones to try it, if there was a difference, but I think you still go back to your others.
Mhm.
And then there's one other one, and but all the other instruments. But you go back to, I think the idea that when people said to you in the orchestra, "How can you afford a gold flute?" That was when you first got your first Cooper. He said, "Well, you just got a new car. I don't buy a car. I buy a flute." Right?
Yeah.
Also, he doesn't drive, so. But talk a little bit about your flutes. You have quite a bit.
Yes, I do.
How do you choose? How do you choose a flute?
Well, I choose the one that works the best.
Well, that's for playing. No, but you.
No, it is my platinum Nagahara. Works the best.
Mr. Kenichi Nagahara is with us
It's
tonight.
here, yeah.
He came to visit us specially. Thank you.
But when I go on tour, I take my Cooper flute, my Muramatsu with the diamonds, and my platinum.
And you take another Nagahara. You take your 20 carat,
Yes,
or you that 14 that I love.
in that case.
I know I'm not getting
You've also had Mr. Nagahara and several makers have named models after you. I think my final question is, working here, being kind of a flute nerd, what's it like to collaborate with a maker on a model? What's that process like?
It's been a nice honor. I think it's a wonderful honor. And actually, the person who pushed it through was one of your great admirers, who's no longer with the company. But that was a beautiful instrument. But of course, then for was it the 70th birthday, Kenichi, that you made this beautiful James Galway model flute? 70th or 75th? 70th.
Yes.
70. 20K, and this is a beautiful instrument. And I think that you came up with this because for years and years, and we could actually do a whole interview on this. We should do it with him while he's here. You would sit and discuss with Sir James about flutes, right? And you would always be telling him to change the thumb key, right?
No, he had a good thumb key.
He had a good thumb key, but he would be talking to you a lot about the balance. I think what's important to you is when we talk about him having no injuries holding the flute, you're very much into the balance of the flute in your hands.
Yes. Yes. I would say, if I had to start my whole career again, I wouldn't play on a gold flute. I would buy a platinum one straight away. No question.
They are special.
Yeah.
The platinum flute that we're talking about now it's a thin. How would you describe this, Mr. Nagahara? This flute.
So I have to get something down to my goal is 9,000 is good. For vibration, acoustics, and projection, everything there. That's only I can, because we talk about this 5 years discussion of piano. I was so negative about piano. Available students are all 2025, so I have to make synergy by myself. That's a solution. Only ended up I accepted the request then and took it 7 months to complete.
I remember that there was if it didn't pick up on the microphone, Mr. Nagahara said that it was a 5-year discussion together on this flute, and I know that he didn't want to make the platinum flute, and so every time the phone rang, right? And I think we were sending faxes back and forth. You guys don't know what faxes are, but it's an old machine, and so we used to send the drawings used to go back and forth. But I think every time the phone rang or something, or we'd say, "Is Mr. Nagahara there? Sir James would like to talk to him." I think you probably wanted to hide, right? Because you didn't want to make this platinum flute, and so they came up with the solution together of shaving it.
Yeah, because it's like an ultra thin all platinum.
But it vibrates beautifully with gold keys and gold. Yeah, it is your favorite. That and what we've pulled out of the safe is the Cooper that he had made by Albert Cooper in 1977 when you left the Berlin Philharmonic.
Yeah.
Right? Very special flute, still plays beautifully. We have it with us, not here today.
Yeah. Well, out of all these flutes, the absolute best one is my Cooper that I played in the Berlin Philharmonic.
That's a very special flute. It's a little higher pitched.
Yes.
But you did,
A445.
but
Oh,
you,
wow.
you did record
Yeah,
on that.
I recorded with a piano A440 because they weren't going to tune it up.
So, over the years, though, and I know from my early years in marriage with my husband, there were dinners all the time with flute makers and holidays with flute makers, because his passion was also, and most flute makers, including the ones in America, will tell you that, and we know because someone's writing a book on this flute collection, is that they had letters from him way back when he was in the Berlin Philharmonic talking to about how they can improve their flute. And we know as a fact that they have come back to us over the years and said, you know, that we have taken in everything Sir James has always said to us, because it was after a concert, say in Boston, where he'd go to a Boston flute maker and sit with them for a long time, and it wasn't to get a flute made or to get your name on it or to get a commission or anything like that. It was because he has this wonderful, wonderful way of just sharing this knowledge and saying this will help the student. And so we've tried over the years to work with companies to have a very good flute that students that can't afford a platinum flute from Mr. Nagahara can play that would work really well, and we did succeed for a bit with.
Let me just say something
Yeah.
about the pitch of flutes.
Oh yeah.
It's much easier to take a high-pitched flute and pull it out than it is to take a low-pitched flute and push it in. That's no good. It really doesn't work.
Yeah.
But flutes today, and we have our flute people here, you see flutes, are they all pitched at 442, or do they still do them?
Depends which tonal you need.
I should ask our maker in the back, yeah.
But generally, we get them all pretty standard now, 442.
442,
unless
but
you
years
special
ago
order
they
it.
weren't.
Yeah, it was 440.
Yeah, yeah. And then also a little tip, Sir James always pulls out the foot joint.
Oh.
You have your flute maker here, so be nice. Because it's a little high down there for you.
Well, one of my flute makers, he said to me one day, you know, I always make the foot joint a little bit higher because most of the people who play my flutes are amateurs and they can't play so good on the low notes. So I began to pull it.
So you always pull it out. And also, we believe, and I know I've had this discussion with Mr. Nagahara, the head joints not to play something too easy blowing, because the whole idea is that you want to have colors and something to go for and get something in there. So that's something to think about when you go on about flutes. But we do have a nice collection of silver flutes and gold flutes, and I was going to mention also the Gemeinhardt Crusader flute that I believe is coming back into circulation after the pandemic, and that was also a flute that you worked on to try to help get a good flute into the hands of students that can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, so, and a lot of the older flutes also that are at good prices that you can find here too are very good flutes.
Yeah, we've got a
I
great
just saw a
collection here.
beautiful piccolo sitting over there. I've got my eye on.
There's no such thing.
Well, I want to thank you both so much. I'm going to have just a couple questions from the audience here.
In keeping with what we're speaking about, you mentioned the Pink Floyd concert in a room full of guitars, and they handed for this particular guitar for this song. So you've got all these flutes. When you perform with the Israeli Philharmonic or the New York Philharmonic, and you know the piece you're going to play, are there certain flutes that are better for certain composers or certain pieces? How do you choose the flute you're going to play for that performance?
I don't. I just take it out of the box and play it.
Okay.
You always say the
But,
one
you know,
that works.
well,
the
I
best.
have to tell you, I really have more experience than a lot of flute players. No, I don't say that in jest. It's true. Because, you know, I just simply did so much practice But when I take a flute out, I know where it's going to go. I know how to get middle C and C2, C3, how to get those things in tune before you even play it. Because, you know, this is a funny thing. We all know that the C natural on the flute is sharp, right? Right?
Right.
How many of you keep practicing it without doing anything about it? Isn't this some sort of madness? While you're at it, while you're tuning the C, B natural is
B
also
natural's
sharp.
always sharp. Oh, God. Yes, I know that. We have to play in octaves.
Great. I think we have one more question over here.
Yeah, so I've been a longtime fan ever since I first started playing the flute. You were on screen as a virtuoso that I looked up to, and so I still play flute today. But I have a question in terms of musical quality and personality. What do you look for in a musician to accompany you on stage?
What do you look for in a musician that's going to accompany you on stage?
Oh, well, that's difficult to say because, you know, usually the people I play with are absolutely red hot. I mean, for example, today I was listening to this Poulenc
Mm-hmm.
Hindemith, and it was with Philip Moll.
Yeah.
And Philip I played with for about, how long were we married?
40, you played with Philip for longer.
More than 40 years.
Wow.
And then I have another friend, Michael McHale, who's a wonderful, fantastic piano player.
I think and both these people have come through recommendations. Herbert von Karajan told you about Philip Moll, so that wasn't a bad recommendation. But you heard, also you knew at the time, you know, it's following people's careers and knowing what they do and hearing them. Philip was working a lot with singers. And also he was playing with the Berlin Philharmonic, so you got to know him that way,
Yeah,
right?
I did. But it was funny because, you know, the Berlin Phil, when they have an audition, the whole entire orchestra listens.
Mm-hmm.
And they started off audition for flute, not mine, it's somebody else. And they'd gotten into about the first 8 bars, and the piano player was so loud you couldn't believe it. So I stopped the audition. Ta-da! I said, would you mind playing softer? This is a flute audition, not a piano audition. Carry on, thought this was...
We don't recommend this, by the way. Different era.
But Carry On came to me and he said privately, he said, listen, if you want a real good piano player, there's this guy in the opera called Moll. So that's where I met Phil.
Yeah.
And I think it's mostly, it's by recommendation, also trusting people that you know. For instance, we've got, when I mentioned the Bach Trio Sonatas, remember you worked with Monica Huggett and Sarah Cunningham, and so they would send and the record companies have done things like this, sent different recordings to us. And then you'd meet them also because you had to see if you're going to get on. Or you called Monica and you said, which edition are you going to use? Remember this?
She sent me a copy of the original.
The original. So it's meeting people that way. It's their reputation. It precedes them. That's why reputation is so important. And the one thing we would always want to know is that if they're going to be easy to deal with on the road. And if we've ever had anyone like an ensemble, even when we remember the Legacy Tour, we put together an ensemble. Our
Yeah.
management did.
Yeah.
And so we just asked around and they put some people together and they all got on and it was very easy. But if anybody's difficult or high maintenance, they're just right off.
Yeah.
Because, and that's something to really remember, you know, this is, and we know this from dealing with people that you just have to be nice and easy on tour. You can't demand things.
It's already stressful enough.
Yeah.
Great. I think we're going to end it there.
Wait, maybe somebody's dying.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I've always been curious, like, how do you align your head joint in your flute?
Straight.
Straight? Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean. The chimney is in line with the left-hand keys.
Chris, you must have a question. You've studied with Sir James for a couple of years and you're coming back to the festival?
Yeah, how do you decide which repertoire you're going to play for certain recital?
Look at the audience, and if they're all wearing bikinis, stuff like this, we play bikini music, and if they're all...
No, I mean, but before you go on tour, you have to do your program, you used to have to do your programs 2 years ahead.
Yeah. Well, we know that when we go to certain places, that the audience is a bit more relaxed. So we play maybe a few easy pieces before we hit them with the hard one.
I think also though what you've learned over the years, which would be something to talk about maybe another time too, is what works for you physically. Because sometimes I would be saying to him, oh, why don't you put this in? He says, we're going to put this at the beginning. And here's me now, many years later, and I'll talk to him a little back about programs, and I'll say, yeah, but that would be really great to end with. He says, no, it's too hard on the embouchure. It's better put this forward, and then we'll do this. And also then the other, you have to, I think for a lot of flutists, that idea of, well, I'm going to use this piece to warm up. He will always say there is no warm-up. You know, you go out there and you present, right? There's no warming up in a concert. You get something that, you know, is going to grab the audience, and then that you give, you know, you also to play 4 or 5 really heavy pieces. I think a flute player doesn't always have the audience, maybe a violinist or a pianist that's going to play all the sonatas. You know, you have a different type of audience, and you want to build your audience and keep them coming back. And talk to your audience, right?
Yes, that's most important. Yeah.
Give them a little information about the composer, let them feel comfortable. And I tell you something, if you're young, that's how you're going to get your sponsors. They're going to say, oh, what a nice young man up there, wasn't he nice? You know, and that's when you need somebody to buy yourself one of these head joints or flutes back here. But I think that you've learned to find a balance over the years.
Yeah.
It's taken time, right?
Yes.
And when you used to do your chamber music tours, like with Derek and things like this, all up and down England, it was the group that decided, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so your colleagues also. Look at what other people are presenting and look at what works. Who are the ones that have the audience? You know, what is working? Modern music is great, but it's very, very limited.
Yes, it has a limited audience.
But it's fantastic, of course, and if you can do all this, it's wonderful. But you could also add it, like Kirsten McCall does this. He'll do a classical concert, and then he'll add in the middle Cassandra's Dream. Did you hear him do this at the festival? Maybe not. Kirsten, when he does it. Yeah, you did. I was talking to Chris. I know you did. Cassandra's Dream, yeah. Or he played Chaconne once or something as an encore, remember?
Yes. He played the Paganini Caprice, number 24, as an encore, but it was a modern version of it.
And do your encores also a little short. And the other thing is, don't take too much time on and off the stage. That's another thing. If you've ever watched some of these artists, watch some of Sir James's concerts.
I don't give the audience a chance.
And this is
I walk on,
yeah.
walk off, turn around, and walk straight back on.
And when we were with chamber groups, the Legacy Tour I'm talking about, where we did take young professional performers from Juilliard. We took them, and that was part of it. And I said, you better move away from this door. He's going to want you right back on. And he would walk back. He'd say, what are you all doing here? Get back on that stage. You know, you have to keep the rhythm going in your performance all the time. And so this is about how you're, as he said, you're an entertainer. So those kinds of little tricks, you know, you learn, and also the moving on the stage, not too much moving. You know, you don't want your audience getting seasick. So, there's lots of possibilities.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? It's our last chance.
What about from some of our more adult learners?
Are we done?
No, they're asking questions.
Well, they're not asking questions.
Not there's someone, yes.
Earlier you talked about how you have a special way of teaching your students how to hold the flute, I think. Could you describe that in more detail?
Holding the flute. Talk
Oh.
about your 3 pressure points.
Very easy. First of all, you stand up, you don't sit down to play.
Do you want a flute? A flute?
Yeah, we have a few.
Give me a cheap one in
There's,
case I drop it.
That, Emily, to your left there, that gold branding.
Well, we have your platinum. Anyway, talk about standing.
Yes. You put your left foot out and sit on the right one. Thank you. Pull
I'm gonna
out.
try this now. I never thought of that.
Right. So what you do is with the right hand, you put the thumb behind here and push. Right? With the left hand, you put it in the crook of the index finger here, and you push this way. So the right hand this way, the left hand this way. And the whole thing is brought together by putting it on your face.
With good pressure and a straight thumb.
Now you see, when I was playing, I didn't move anything. You know, I often am amazed what my colleagues can do as soon as they get a flute.
Can you play a little bit for Tita? Or you want your flute? So it's pushing with the thumb from behind, underneath like the key, and here this way, straight thumb, and then here. Sir James used to have in the festival in Switzerland, he'd say to the student standing next to him, try to take this flute off my chin, and he'd be pushing
you.
it that way, and because it's not, you know, on the lips, it's below, so it really gives you that place there.
Maybe I should try something easier.
Danny Boy has said.
No, we're not playing Danny Boy.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a wonderful place to end. Thank
Oh,
you.
we have
One more?
someone in the back.
Oh, all right. Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry, really sorry, but may I request just one easy piece that I really love on Mr. Galway's recording?
Which piece?
It's the Debussy, the or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I love that piece on Mr. Galway's recording.
It's a beautiful piece.
He wants to know if you want to play it.
I don't know. I haven't played it for 2 centuries, 2 decades. No, I need a practice.
We'll practice it for you. We'll get it up on one of our
All right. Thank you again so much for chatting with us and playing some too.
Sure.
Well,
Really
we
appreciate
want
it.
to thank the Flute Center for also the support of flutists of this wonderful space here that we're in, and that you bring artists here all the time, and
Yeah.
you're committed to our instrument, and a wonderful team here to Phil Unger, Julian Rose, to everyone here. We had our ladies' hour. We get to hear that
Yeah.
too, where we had the ladies here, and the support of our work. You're always right there all the time for us. Also, we have a very special relationship with the Flute Center in New York called Code Galway. And Emily, can you tell everyone about Code Galway? This is like very cool.
So we have the Galway Code, which you can use for sheet music to get 10% off all music, including all of the wonderful Galway editions, but everything else too. And we also offer longer service contracts, so your warranty is longer on any flutes you purchase. You get extended trials, you get free shipping on your trials within the US. So some great perks whether you're shopping for sheet music or flutes. And of course we have all of the beautiful flutes that the Galways like best, as well as many, many others. So yeah, use the Galway Code. You can use it on the website, or you can use it just by talking with one of our resident flutists. You can just mention, and that way you'll get all of the really special perks that we've worked up.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank
It's a
you.
very special relationship. Thank you, Emily,
Thank you.
for organizing my email friend who behind the scenes, and also we've just been talking earlier today too about doing more collaboration with the Flute Center online, and some different offers we'll be having new. But the first thing that we have up on our plate is the Galway Flute Festival, and we do keep the prices as low as we can. So the applications for participants with our 10 guest artists, we didn't mention all of them, Nicola Mazzante will be with us, and everyone come and look. It's www.galwayfluteacademy.com, and you'll see that. You'll be hearing more about Galway Connect, and we just hope that we can bring more of Sir James's legacy to you and his teachings, and just all of you feel a little more comfortable with your instruments and enjoy.
Thank you.
By the way, I have to tell you, I've looked at all sorts of books on scales and whatnot, and I still think that the daily exercises by Moyes are by far the best. And you don't have to go through the whole thing. Just A, B, C, D will do.
There you
If
go.
you want to do E as well, that's the whole thing in thirds.
And Sir James teaches that at our festival. And this year we also have some of our younger rising stars doing our wake-up call and teaching. We've got our students coming. We have a junior rising star in the audience here. If you'd like to stand, Sue, I call you Hannah. Sue, tell me in Korean exactly how to pronounce your name. Sula. We would like to say hello. She's one of our junior Galway Rising Stars, the first award given to a young player, and you're now at the pre-college in Juilliard. And We've known each other since you were very small. And it's wonderful that you came today. And Chris, we've known you too, and many other people who have come today. And congratulations, it was a beautiful recital you gave. I think we're going to put it up on the internet for you, okay?
That's wonderful.
But bravo, really.
That's wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. Wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you.